Hey guys, welcome to the channel. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to take your engine bay from this to this. Let's get started. So this is going to be part one of a longer video series. As you can imagine, it took many hours of work to get from a stock engine bay to completely painted and redone, like rust repair and all that. So the first thing you want to do is remove the fenders and wiring. Basically take everything out of the engine bay that you're not going to want to get paint on. So in this car, like I said, Nissan 240SX, you can remove the fuse box by actually taking it out of the big plastic container, and then you can separate all the individual relays to get them out of these smaller, like grid type plastics. Once you get it out, it'll actually fit through a hole that's in the side of the engine bay. So that's what I'm doing here, is just taking apart the fuse box. Another thing to mention is it's very important to take pictures before you do all this, so you know exactly how everything goes back, and you also want to label everything. So I used a Sharpie to mark the relays and where they went in the fuse box, and then as you can see here, it's pretty easy to fish out all these electric components once you have the fuse box broken up into its parts. As you're removing all the unnecessary components from the engine bay, it's a good idea to start trying to clean up the engine bay. There's a lot of rust on this car, as you can see, especially around the factory battery tray. I'm going to be relocating the battery to the trunk, so I decided to cut out the battery tray just because it's so rusty I can't use it anymore. Also, I think it's gonna look better without the battery tray there. It'll just be a smooth piece of metal, so that's what I'm doing here, is just cutting out the battery tray and then cleaning off all the rust. So the next thing I'm going to do here is start cleaning all the paint, and this is a really important step. It also gives you an idea of the condition of your car, so how rusty it is, what you're going to need to replace, what you're going to need to weld, things like that. So I didn't have a pressure washer. Honestly, that probably would have saved me a lot of time, but I also didn't want to get water sprayed in like the fuel lines and the power steering and things like that that are still actually in the engine bay. So I just chose to do it by hand with a sponge. Also sprayed some grease remover, as you can see there. There was a lot of oil and stuff caked up on this. This car is over 20 years old. It had close to 200,000 miles on it, so I'm definitely going to expect a lot of grime and grease and a little bit of rust. As I said earlier, this is a really important step, and I think there is definitely advantage to doing it by hand because you actually get to get in and see all the metal in your engine bay. So pay very close attention to spots of rust and things like that. You can see in that shock tower there's a little bit of rust built up. Little small spots like that will turn into very large rust pockets. So it looks small on the surface, but once you actually start sanding the paint away, the rust can definitely grow pretty quickly. So now on the driver's side here, there's an additional bracket that was used for the factory air intake manifold. I'm not going to use that anymore, so I decided to take the angle grinder and cut that off. Just as a small side note, whenever you're placing your angle grinder, do not put it over a bucket of water. A quick disclaimer, I did unplug the grinder immediately, take it out of the water, and then set it aside for a couple days. And believe it or not, it dried out and it works really well. So I got pretty lucky there. So we're just continuing to clean here, and one thing I want to point out is on that shock tower, you can see in the middle of it there's a little spot of rust developing. As you'll see in later videos, that circle of rust actually turned out to be basically that entire piece of metal all the way down to the frame rail underneath the driver's shock tower was completely rusted out. So like I said, it looks small and insignificant, but as you start chasing it, small spots of rust like that will actually be a lot bigger than they look on the surface. So with all that being said, this is basically going to be it for the first part of this video. I do want to, if you're going to do this yourself, I do want to stress the importance of like thoroughly cleaning your engine bay, just so you can get a good idea of kind of where your car is at. Also, this will kind of give you things to look out for if you're going to buy a car. So if you see signs of rust like this, just know that it goes a lot deeper than you think, and it'll be a lot more work than you think. So be on the lookout for part 2. That in that video I'll actually get into welding and cutting and things like that. So thank you for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Have a great day. Thanks again.